Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Scott Saunders for TPL, the Promised Land. I really appreciate all the support you've given me over the past few weeks, and I'm back to talk about some big things happening at Manchester United today. Last night, Matthijs de Ligt and Noussair Mazraoui were announced as new Manchester United players after a 5-year pursuit of Matthijs de Ligt, let's say. Mazraoui looks like a tidy fullback who can play on both sides, and both of them are in line to play against Fulham in the season opener in the Premier League on Friday night at Old Trafford. And I've got to say, guys, I'm feeling quite quietly and cautiously optimistic about the season ahead. So I wanted to come on and jump on, talk about all my thoughts around these transfers, around all the latest going on around United, what they could potentially do before the end of the transfer window as well, because I think there will be more arrivals too in central midfield, potentially. Talk about some targets in that position. But today is just more of a roundup, really, about what's happening around United ahead of that game, and maybe just a bit of a preview towards the end of the Fulham game as well. I'm recording this on Wednesday morning around 8 o'clock. I would have, and I was planning last night to record just after United announced De Ligt and Mazraoui and their signings, but a reason why. Let's just say this. So I arrived home after work, went to the gym, put some food on. It was a Thai curry from the night before, so I chucked some rice on, waited for that to steam up, and served my food. Put it in a nice big bowl. Sat down with a naan bread to the side of it. The naan bread looked like it was going to fall off the side of the sofa where I was sitting to watch some of what United had put out around De Ligt and Mazraoui on the telly. And then all of a sudden, my curry tipped off my lap, fell on the floor. Luckily, I managed to salvage all of the curry sauce, or most of it, and what ended up perishing and falling on the floor was the rice. But it did inevitably mean that I had to spend time cleaning up and cleaning the carpet. So, look, not ideal timing for that because it ruined the moment for me. But, I'm back now, 8 a.m. on Wednesday morning. We've got a couple of days. How many is that? Like 56-ish hours. That's really bad math. Until United kick off this season properly against Fulham. But both of those players could be in that team. And I'll talk through my thoughts on their signings, the reaction to it, because you obviously know that when Tim Sherwood, the beacon of all knowledge, comes out and starts talking about how good Matthijs de Ligt is, or Graham Souness calling him lightweight earlier this week. He is the least lightweight player I think I might have ever seen grace a football pitch. But I'll talk about all of that in a little bit. There's also some Luke Shaw injury news, as ever. There always is. He will miss the first few weeks of the season until after the international break. He's expected back, but can you actually expect him back then with all of the injury records that he has? He hasn't played for United since February, I don't think, and he will not play in August either. So, that's some bad news. But overall, I think cautious optimism is the way that I would summarize my feeling towards this season, because I think United have had a really good window so far. The De Ligt and Mazraoui deals are worth, I think, including add-ons here, and you shouldn't really include add-ons all the time, but I think these ones are easy to achieve. £60 million for the two, and when you consider Everton were asking for 75 million for Jared Branthwaite, I think United have got a better centre-back in Matthijs de Ligt than Jared Branthwaite, according to what he's done in his career so far anyway, who can step into the team straight away. I'm not saying de Ligt, Branthwaite won't be a target in future. I think he still will be. But I think what United have done here is some really good business. And as much as you want to talk about, De Ligt's lost his way, or he lost his position in the Bayern team to Eric Dyer, which actually isn't all that true, by the way. I have looked at the appearance figures, and obviously a number of people have pointed this out as well. But I think this is a really good player, a really good... he's good on the ball, he's powerful, he's good in the air, he's a leader as well. And I think that is really, really important for United to go and get. They need more of them, because leadership has been a big problem over the last few years. But please, just before I get into this a little bit more, please subscribe to the podcast, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, wherever you're watching this or listening to this. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Please tell your friends. if they're United fans as well, or if they're not, even to subscribe to the channel as well. I would really appreciate it. I read all the comments. Honestly, I do try read all the comments, and they've been so lovely. Honestly, I really appreciate all the support that you've given over the last few weeks, and that it's given me enough confidence to be able to continue this. And I want to continue this, and I want to keep bringing my thoughts, because obviously it's even been more refined to me over the past few days that people talk so much nonsense out there, and I'm not particularly naming names, but I'm looking at the punditry basically around United at the moment, and it's all just ridiculous. It really is, and like, you don't want to fall into the trap of biting on it, really, because that's the game that that they want you to play. But I feel like there's probably, and enough of you have told me this as well, there's probably enough room in the space for some just general chat to come through, talk a bit of sense. I will try and provide as much of that as I can. And I did try and provide some of that on a video on the 90 Min YouTube channel, which did drop after Ligt and Mazraoui signed last night, Tuesday night, as we record this. If you're listening to this on another day, it was Tuesday night it came out. So you can just check the 90 Min YouTube channel, 90min_football on YouTube. Subscribe to that as well if you haven't already. I'm coming up with ideas about what we do around Premier League football, not just United, on that channel. So if you'd like to see more of me over there, please do. And some nice comments on that as well. And it was more of a reasoned take on United's window so far, what they need, and the signings of these two players. So look, I'm in a lot of places. I'm on social media as well, at @_Scott Saunders on IG, Twitter, and TikTok as well. Although I do need to figure out how I'm going to start posting more on those channels, because I'm having, I've got to be honest, a bit of a crisis of, maybe this has been my job for a few years now. I even started out at Euro 2016, so it's like 8 years ago. But sticking a camera in your face and having to record what you're saying into a camera, I know people can do it. It's alien to me, really, and it is. Especially when you do it in public. I know I've done it enough for work, but doing it for my own benefit is a different question completely. So, look, I'll try and move towards that direction a little bit more. I'm coming around to it, but I do need a bit of help with, making sure that I stick to routine and that I'm sensible with it, and all this stuff. But hopefully, over the next few weeks and months, you'll see more of me doing that. I think, hopefully. But anyway, yeah, subscribe to all the channels and follow me on the socials as well for more. And let's get into these signings, because Ligt has just turned 25. Mazraoui, I believe, is 26, actually younger than I thought he was. And both of them have come in having, A, both played for Erik ten Hag before, and B, come from the same club in Bayern Munich and played alongside each other as well. So they've kept fit in pre-season. They were at Tottenham the other day in a Tottenham versus Bayern friendly. Neither of them got off the bench at all in anticipation of this move. And as far as I know, and maybe Erik ten Hag will suggest otherwise here, it seems like they're ready to go. Like, the suggestions have been over the last few days that they'll be ready for the Fulham game. But whether they're thrown straight in, I have an inkling that they might be. I really do, because I think, look, De Ligt has credited Erik ten Hag with playing a big role in his development in his career. Obviously, we know the story about the Ajax team that reached the Champions League semi-final. He played in the what's it called? The competition that United won, the Europa League final in 2017. He played against United as well when he was a young buck. And I've seen some clips of him from that game dribbling the ball through midfield, which he hasn't done so much in his time since he left Ajax. But Erik ten Hag was the manager who really brought out that kind of side of him. And maybe we'll see that a little bit more. But I think what you're getting with Matthijs de Ligt here is, and I've touched on this already, a leader, absolute leader. I'm sure everybody's seen that clip of him on the stand, or like high above in front of thousands and thousands of Ajax fans on the microphone saying what he said. And he was a teenager at that point. look, United need more characters like this. They need more people who are willing to lead. They need more people who are willing to prove a point. Because even this De Ligt sign, and the reason why it's getting criticism is because I believe I think it was Sherwood who suggested he's lost his way at Bayern. And I don't think that's necessarily fair, but obviously the questions will be asked about why have Juventus sold him and why have Bayern Munich both sold him. And yeah, fair enough that I understand why there's concerns there. But I think, look, if United can get a player who is considered as one of the best centre backs in the world and has been for the last few years for as cheap as they've got him, and they can put him back on a path towards where he's going to fulfill and achieve his potential and become a leader in their squad, they've got a hell of a player there. They really have. And I said this on the other video on the 90 Min channel, that United need to now concentrate, and Erik ten Hag now needs to concentrate on getting the best out of the players that he's got. We need to see players who are capable of executing the style of football that Erik ten Hag wants to execute. And I think what you're getting here is two players who've proven they can do it under Erik ten Hag and at Ajax previously. So these are two really good signings for me. And look, I think De Ligt, especially in the first 3 months, I can see this question about whether he'll be ready for the Fulham game, but I think they'll take the risk personally. Matthijs De Ligt next to Ligt and Martinez, like I'm satisfied with that. That's a solid centre back pairing for the first few months. Obviously, Lenny Yoro is out injured for 10 weeks, 3 months, or whatever it is from here. He's just had surgery, so that does give, providing they both stay injury free, the two of them the opportunity to bed in and form a partnership. The benefits that they both have is that they've played under Erik ten Hag before, and the fundamentals of what Erik ten Hag wants from those two centre backs, they are already familiar with it. So there might be some changes that need to be made, given the differences between Ten Hag's Ajax and Ten Hag's United. But the fundamentals unquestionably will be the same because the manager is the same, the head coach is the same. So we will see, hopefully, fingers crossed here, that partnership forging an understanding pretty quickly. Now, De Ligt, I'm really excited about this, and I think, let me know what you think as well. Get in touch with me on the socials and get in the comments as well on how you feel about this signing, because some have said he's washed. That's a modern term, but I really think that this is the type of player United should be signing for me. The type of player that has got something more in them, and they have a drive to achieve it. United need to foster a culture of success and getting the best out of every training session, every performance, changing the mentality around. And I think with Matthijs de Ligt in particular, this is the perfect opportunity for him. I loved his comments upon signing for United. He said he was sold by the project and what the people in charge have told him that they were looking to do. And I think, even though they're going back and signing Ajax players like they have been for the last, or former Ajax players like they have been over the last couple of years under Erik ten Hag, I feel like this summer's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit different in the sense of there's an actual plan behind this, not just, hey, Eric, just pick all these players that you want and we'll bring them in. If you've worked with them before, then that's probably better. There's actually a team behind these plans and behind these transfers. And to see both of these picked up from a club as successful as Bayern Munich, they had a bad season last season, obviously. But De Ligt, in his case, I think he's won league titles at every club he's been at, and even in the first season. I'm not saying that he will win the league at United this season, but I know some people have made that joke. These are players that can A, fit in straight away, and B, familiarize themselves with the way that Ten Hag wants to play. And hopefully we'll see an upside on the pitch in terms of a playing style and a solid defense. Hopefully more clean sheets. They will need to, I will need to definitely shore up the midfield in order to protect the back two, whoever that is, throughout the season. But I'm feeling quite positive, and I like when I say positive, it's cautious optimism because I don't want to, and maybe we all should do this, not get too carried away. There's still a lot more that needs to be done. There's still a lot more that needs to be done in midfield. Left back is a question as well, and attack as well. Maybe centre forward. United have been linked with another centre forward before the end of the window, but I think it really depends on money and how many outgoings they can manage to pull off. Mazraoui, in his case, for me, I see him as third choice fullback. And maybe this will change because obviously we had the news last night about Luke Shaw with a calf injury missing the first, it's about 3 games of the season and the first international break. You'd hope, because obviously we know the story about him going on England duty, trying to get fit throughout the Euros and ended up coming back into the team towards the end of the tournament. But he hasn't played for United since February. And now I really understand the frustration here about his injury record. And I think he tried to put it right and talk about how he was missing time for United, but actually playing for England. And now it seems like he's going to miss more time for United. And people are getting frustrated by it and angered by it. And look, I get it. Even Jim Ratcliffe, if you remember this, like ahead of the Euro final, said something along the lines of, Luke Shaw, please don't get injured again. It's a different muscle this time. I think that he was talking about his hamstring at that time, but this is his calf. And whether United dip in and go and get another left back remains to be seen. But I think for the first few weeks, Mazraoui's ability to play on both sides, I think, is really, really important. And they've replaced Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's been sold this week as well, with Mazraoui. And Mazraoui offers more in the sense of versatility and ability to contribute to attacking plays. We know Wan-Bissaka's strengths, we know his weaknesses, and I think this is, you can debate about which is the better player, but in terms of who is the better player for the style of play that United want, it's absolutely Mazraoui, and I think they've made the right decision for similar money as well. So the way that I think this might go, and I could be wrong, I could be completely wrong here, and I'm talking about the first choice back four at Fulham, given the injuries that United have. Looks like, for me, maybe Dalot will go right back, De Ligt right centre-back, Ligt at left centre-back, and then Mazraoui as left-back. Whether that is an inverted role, we'll see. But I think if you can settle and start with that, knowing you've got Luke Shaw to come back and knowing you've got Lenny Yoro to come back as well, I think that's a good start. Now, United can't afford any more injuries, but I think I'd be pretty satisfied with that to start the season. You've got Harry Maguire in reserve then as well, but what United signing 2 right centre-backs in one summer says about Harry Maguire's position in this team, remains to be seen. He said that United want to keep him and want to keep him around as far as he knows. But I think Maguire might have to be dealing with a rotation role at best and a backup role. Because I was at the Community Shield the other day, and I think I touched on this in the last video I did from Wembley. But there was an instance where United were taking a goal kick and Harry Maguire was on it. And there was lots of hesitancy, lots of it. And Andre Onana was trying to urge him to get the ball in play and start the attack from the base of the goal kick. And the hesitancy there, I think, was just a bit. It signaled to me that he's maybe not a natural fit in this team. And we've known it for a while. But like, all credit to Harry Maguire for the way that he's dealt with the criticism that he's had. But in football terms, in simple football terms, and United know as well, because they signed 2 centre-backs and still won another one, that United need to upgrade in that position. And unfortunately, that means that Harry Maguire will fall down the pecking order. But in Mazraoui's case, I think when everyone's fit, like I say, I think he'll be third choice. And maybe that'll see him play a lot of football, because even when Luke Shaw is fit, will he be able to do 90 minutes all the time? Who knows? He can play right, he can play left, and maybe Ten Hag will go with Mazraoui right and De Ligt next to him because they have that familiarity. With Dalot on the left, perhaps I could see that happening. But I think That's the way that I would anticipate it happening, because I think Dallow's better from the right anyway. So a few thoughts there on De Ligt and Mazraoui's signings and Luke Shaw's injury. Get in the comments, guys. Let me know. What would you do with Luke Shaw? Because I'm seeing a lot of keep or sell debates. United stuck with him. They are, because who is paying money to sign Luke Shaw with the injury record that he's had over the past couple of years? I think he's contracted for a few years yet. So United need to get him fit, if that's even possible, and get him playing regularly. But they also need to be able to cover him when he's not there, because he's not there a lot of the time. And just one more point on this before I move on. I think Erik ten Hag said recently that Harry Amass needs a few months. I think it was around 3 months before he feels like he might be ready to be integrated into the team. But we have seen him play in pre-season. And he was omitted from the squad. I think it was the squad, or maybe he was on the bench for the Community Shield, and we didn't see him. But you don't want to rush him into it because of Luke Shaw's injury. But also, you don't want to stem his path to the first team, because you think that might come whenever he's ready. Maybe it comes in the second half of the season, or more towards November to Christmas. I don't know, when the games pile up, or maybe in the Europa League, even depending on the draw that United get, or the fixtures that they get, given it's now a 36-team league table. But Harry Amass, I think there's a lot of promise with him, and with Luke Shaw's injuries, you don't really want to sign, especially with Malacia there, unless they end up selling him at some point when he's fit again. You don't really want to sign a left back who's going to get in Harry Amass's way, because I think there's enough potential there for Amass to become a first team or a squad regular over the next few years anyway, and we'll see, because he's still very young. But don't want to put too much pressure on him. But I think there's promise there, and I think United recognise that. Otherwise, he wouldn't have had all that time on the preseason tour. But where does United's attention turn next? I'll get into that in a second. I think, and I'm sure you think too, that central midfield is a big issue. Now, over pre-season, United and Erik ten Hag seems to have adopted more of a 4-2-4 with Kobbie Mainoo or Toby Collier playing more like next to Casemiro to stop that massive space that we saw when opposition got past the first line of press, which was a 5-man press. Even to the first game of last season against Wolves, if you remember, and the Tottenham game in the second game of the season, United were absolutely ripped apart. And I don't think they can continue with that this season. So maybe they need, and I think this might be the suggestion of where it's going, it's 4 attackers or 4 people, like the Bruno Fernandes, the striker, the right winger, and the left winger, whoever that may be. That is your first line of press. And then you've got 2 central midfielders, double pivot kind of thing, to be able to stop the second line if the first line is breached, and to protect Casemiro or whoever that is. But the question is definitely there. Like, can Casemiro improve on last season? You would hope he would, because United, as it stands, keeping him for the remainder of this season. But there's no question that even if Casemiro stays, they need another option in there. They need somebody who's more mobile. They need somebody who is younger. They need somebody who has energy. They need somebody who's tenacious. And there's hope over Toby Collier, and I think I'm seeing suggestions that he'll get his chances this season as well. But I think, look, United do definitely need somebody who's ready to step in there to keep the level of known quality. But like with Collier and with younger players, there's no guarantee, obviously, that they'll always work out, but you do need to give them a chance. But I think the central midfield position is an absolute must. And United have been linked with a few players. Sander Berge, Adrian Rabiot, that name won't go away. He's on a free transfer, having left Juventus. But I think the one that has emerged again over the past 24 hours is Manuel Ugarte from PSG. This is the one that I wanted. I think, look, I wanted him last summer when he left Sporting for PSG. And I've done some look. I work in the 90-min office. It's, if you don't know, it's a global brand, and it comes with, look, we've got people from France, people from Italy, people from Argentina, Brazil, all of this. So generally, I think global knowledge and uh, attention on different leagues, I think it's quite good. And I do have a colleague called Alexei in the office who's a PSG fan, and I sat with him at lunch yesterday, asking him about Manu Ugarte and is he the right fit? And he wasn't actually convinced that he was ready for Premier League football. He pointed back to, I'm sure everyone remembers, if you watched the Champions League last season, when Newcastle smashed PSG at St. James's Park. He said Ugarte was the one that Newcastle picked out to press on the ball when he received it. Obviously, there's other players in that team and in that PSG midfield that are better on the ball, and they've now signed João Neves, who maybe won't have that same problem. But Ugarte's been left out of, I believe it's training, or basically they want to sell him, and they're kind of indicating to him that, hey, you stay fresh, you stay fit over there so we can get rid of you. And I think this one is going to ramp up now. But obviously we know United moved away from this a week or two ago because of PSG's demands of 60 million euros, which is what they paid for him in the first place. But I think suggestions are, and there's reports from Uruguay coming out over the past 24 hours or so, that PSG are now willing to compromise a bit on the price that they want for this player, which could bring United back in. And I think, I do think this is the way that United will go. I know there's other players who've been linked, like Sander Berge, as I just mentioned, but I think Ugarte is the one that United have identified as being the right guy to sit in alongside Kobbie Mainoo, or rotate with Casemiro, whichever one it is, or maybe even play with Casemiro in bigger games to kind of have more defensive nous in that position, and to double up and to defend against teams who maybe you'd expect to get on top of United in matches. But Ugarte is, like, to me, I think, and this is why I see him as the right fit, in spite of what was said. Look, don't expect, if they do get him, don't expect him to be pushing penetrating passes through the middle third, because that's not the type of player he is. But I think what United will need from a player, and I think United have needed this for a long time, is somebody who can shuttle around, intercept the ball, win tackles, and just essentially win possession back or get possession and pass it to Kobbie Mainoo, who we know what he can do on the ball. And that's the way that I anticipate the plan coming together. And maybe that is what we'll see if they do end up getting him. But my colleague also mentioned concerns about his physical ability in the Premier League in terms of his strength and his size, and said he was more suited to Serie A. But look, if United have recognized this guy as their top midfield target, maybe they feel like they think, at least for a few years, that he can do a good job. And he came in with a big reputation to PSG from Sporting as well. Even when he joined Sporting, he had a big reputation coming out of his club before that. And I think this guy, Ugarte, goes in the same basket as Matthijs de Ligt as well. Like, a player with known qualities, who maybe is in a bit of a downturn in his career, but has potential to kick on. And it's United's job then to extract that potential and make sure that their performances are better and increased and can contribute to the team. So look, we'll see how this one develops. But for me, I think this is the way that it'll go now. I think you might see this develop over the next week or so. And given United's pursuit and the way that they've operated in the window so far under the new transfer team, the leadership team, maybe they'll end up getting their way and they'll get a cheaper price for Ugarte. Because I think they did it on the two deals that they've just done, marginally, but I think it was more towards their terms, or maybe in the middle of what United and Bayern wanted, and they compromised. PSG want a guarantee of that 60 million, I think, that they bought him for, but given his standing in that team has fallen over the last year, I don't really think that they are in a position to demand the same money. I think United know that as well. And obviously, if they're freezing him out of their team, it indicates that they want to get rid of him. Maybe Liverpool come into this pursuit, who knows, after they've been rejected by Zubamendi. But one other thing as well, that I've noticed about this summer is, and I don't want to jinx it, so I'll touch wood. The players that United have been going for seem like they're actually fixed on joining United. So it seems like United and their new leadership team have put the feelers out there to these players and told them the plans, in a sense, or told the agents the plans. And the indications have been that they're going to wait for United and they want to join United, which is in itself a bit of a sea change from how we've seen things go down in the last few years. So I think Ugarte has been in that camp. And De Ligt has been in that camp as well, and he said as much in his quotes upon joining the club, that when he heard about the plans, he knew that he wanted to be a part of this, and he likes the path that United have set out for him, and where they anticipate going, and where they anticipate going with him. And I get the sense that, from what I've read and from what I've seen, that Ugarte is in that same boat and wants to join United, and is willing to wait for United and PSG to come to an agreement. And maybe he and his agent are working on PSG themselves to bring down their own demands on this transfer. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, let me know in the comments what you think of Manuel Ugarte, or who do you want in that midfield position? Because I think there's no question really that United need at least one central midfielder before the end of the window. And like, if they can get two, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. But I think the success of this transfer window as well depends a lot on sales and outgoings. They had to take a hit on Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They just had to. And I'm like, at the end of the day, whether he's received compensation, United have received feedback for him, and that they are clear of that transfer now. In terms of how PSR works and book value, I think United have done pretty well out of that, even though they bought him for 50 million and sold him for 15. It's the way that PSR works. I think that you can probably put that down as a successful move afterwards. I'm seeing suggestions of United's price on Jadon Sancho if he ends up leaving as well, and how United's price for Jadon Sancho would mean that's a success in PSR terms as well, even though they paid a massive fee for him and pay him massive wages. So look, we'll see what United can do, but they unquestionably need to sort outgoings as well. The worry's always been, how soon will those outgoings come and how will it affect the incomings? Because United have been in an element of sell to buy, and I think United might need to raise a little bit more money before triggering as big a deal as maybe Ugarte will be. We'll see. But let me know, who do you think should be United's next target? Because I think there will be more. I think there'll be more arrivals. Who would you prefer to get in that midfield area? Realistic ones as well. Realistic ones, because they're not going to go out and get some world beater who costs 100 million. I don't think that's realistic at the moment. So you need to temper expectations a bit. But yeah, get in the comments if you're watching on YouTube, and let me know on social media as well at @double_Scott Saunders. And also let me know your team for Friday's game. There's chat about Alejandro Garnacho coming back into the team after his impact in the Community Shield. Him wanting to cut his holiday short after the Copa America to come back and be ready for that game. So encouraging stuff from him. Hopefully, breakout season. Maybe not a breakout season, but a season to really kick on. And we know about Ahmad as well. So I don't know what United will do in attack. Will we see Joshua Zirkzee start the game? Or will we see something more akin to what we saw in the Community Shield with Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount? Will we see Zirkzee off the bench? I think you'll see him at Old Trafford probably on Friday night regardless, but I'm really intrigued to see how that relationship between Zirkzee and Fernandes will work, because they might want to occupy the same space. But maybe Zirkzee will end up bringing the best out of a player like Garnacho on the right wing and Marcus Rashford on the left. So there's lots of options. There's lots of unknowns, but I think it's exciting. And I'm pretty optimistic about the season, but obviously I think I'll wrap up on this. My What do I consider success for the season ahead? And I did touch on this in another video, I think, which will come out later today on the 90 Min channel. But what I want to get out of this season, I'm not necessarily saying, and maybe the leadership team require Eric Ten Hag to get back in the Champions League for financial reasons. But what I want to see out of this season is progression in playing style, promise on the pitch, and absolute confirmation that United are moving in the right direction on the pitch. That's what I want to see. I want to see less silly mistakes. I want to see a shift in mentality. I want to see silly goals stop being conceded. I want to see not conceding 2 minutes after scoring a goal, or not conceding in the 96th minute in certain matches, because that indicates a mental fragility that United have had and they've not been able to get rid of for a few years. And ultimately, top 5 might be good for Champions League this season. We'll see. It depends on how United and these other teams do in Europe. And that's always something to consider. But if United miss Champions League but have a good season and they're moving in the right direction, I'm fine with that. Like, personally, I'm fine with that, and I'm not going to come out here and shout and scream about everything being awful. But the one thing I'm getting out of this is, and these leadership changes in the transfer window so far, and the maybe difference in playing style that I've seen in pre-season, is that United have turned a corner off the pitch. And that is what I would hope would happen under Ineos and under Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ownership. And I think that has been fundamental to their approach towards this transfer window, and fundamental to their approach towards taking the stake in United, because obviously a successful United will generate more money anyway, despite what Ed Woodward said a few years ago. Playing performance doesn't necessarily indicate our commercial success. I'm paraphrasing, but that one will always stick with me. That was the approach previously under Ed Woodward, and I think that, while there might be remnants of that left around the football club and in the squad because they can't sell players who are on big wages, I think that we're starting to see a change in that. So that's the big encouragement for me. Obviously, if United lose 3-0 at home to Fulham on Friday night, then I think the world might melt down. But fingers crossed, United can look competent, entertain, and get a win, and start the season off with a bang and a good performance. So, look, guys, I will be back. I'll probably be back after that game, whether that's Friday night, just after it, or Saturday morning, with my reflections on it. And thanks again for all your support and all of your comments, everything, encouragement to go on, let's say. And I really appreciate everything that everyone sent me. And I will try and do my best to bring you more episodes. In terms of regularity, I'm still working on that, but I'm just trying to bring you my thoughts at the moment whenever I can. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, subscribe and to the podcast on Spotify and Apple. Watch me on YouTube as well. TPL MUFC, I believe the channel is. If you're new to the channel and you're getting this recommended, please subscribe. Like the stream as well, because that really helps with the algorithm, and drop in the comments too. And let's help. Well, I would appreciate your help in growing this as well. So big thanks to everyone if you're watching or listening, and I'll be back after the Fulham game, whatever the result, and we will reflect on that together. And until next time, everyone, really appreciate your support, and see you next time. Let's hope United get off to a strong start this season.